Player 2 has joined the game.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Two Player Co-op Podcast. As always, I'm one of your hosts here, Kevin, along this time with my brother from my other mother, James Solar is here, everybody. Yay, James.
How's it going?
Glad to have you back, sir.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Sean is not here. We'll get to that in a minute. But first, if this is the first time you're ever seeing, hearing, or listening to us, this is the Two Player Co-op Podcast, where just about every week, two brothers or brothers from other mothers get together to tell you everything you need to know about in the world of video games. If you like that, make sure you like the video, subscribe, share it with your friends, family, and everyone in betwixt. If you really like us, you can go to patreon.com/2playercoop. where for just $1 you become a booster, where you get the podcast live one day early on YouTube. $3 makes you a sponsor, where you get a bonus episode every month. $5 makes you a producer, where you can watch us record the podcast live on YouTube, like we're doing right now. $10 makes you an affiliate, where you get a monthly Q&A episode with us. And for $20, if you so choose, you can choose the bonus episode topic and record with us if you so choose. That was a lot of chooses there. Some of our patrons deserve a shout out, just like our affiliate, James Solar. Make sure you check out James Games and More on YouTube. Sarah Solar, John Tingley, Derek Bamford, and Mom. She's still not here. As well as our producers, Steve Appleton, Aunt Sue, Dustin Downs, and Chris Peralta. Also, make sure you check out PS Rewind on YouTube. If you like cool t-shirts and the like, or if you just need a new sweatshirt because your washing machine and or dryer decided to eat your sweatshirt, you can go to teespring.com/stores/2player-co-op. Inside joke there.
I am wearing what's left of the two-player co-op hoodie. I don't really know. I don't think our washer is like overly aggressive or anything.
It sure looks like it is.
Yeah, but I'll definitely a comfy hoodie. I'll definitely keep wearing this one. Probably end up getting another one too.
It almost looks like if we made like a weathered logo or something, like a a retro, or I don't even know the word I'm looking for, but that's kind of what it looks like. But yeah,
You can't even tell what it was anymore now.
No, I can, just because I know what it is. But now it's just like,
because you know what's supposed to be there.
It looks like it's Transformer arms or something. But yeah, so we were off last week. Warned you about that for Thanksgiving because I was out of the country on a cruise with the whole family, all 6 of us. I survived. We had a blast. It was 8 days out of New Orleans. It was crazy. We left New Orleans and it was literally 41 degrees and raining. And we had 2 days at sea after that. Those 2 days were crazy waves because of all these storms that were in the Gulf. My oldest, my 14-year-old, got horribly seasick the first day. He's never been on a cruise ship or anything, and he threw up a couple times, and that was fun. But luckily, we had stopped at Walgreens and bought some Dramamine before we got on the boat, which was very smart. So he was okay after that. But yeah, after that, once we started out at Costa Maya. We went to Belize. We went to Isla Roatan in Honduras, and then we ended up at Cozumel, and then headed back to New Orleans. So it was 8 days, 7 nights. It was a blast. I very much needed it. I needed the recharge. I needed to step away. But I did survive, even though I went swimming with sharks. It's not as bad as it sounds because
on purpose.
They were nurse sharks. So yeah.
Okay.
Nurse sharks and stingrays also.
Okay. I have a question for you.
Yes.
When you do take vacations, do you take after you get back home, do you take an additional day or 2 off of work to be able to kind of...
Sometimes, but what I had to do this time, because basically all my vacation is spoken for now because I'm taking the week after Christmas off. So I didn't have any extra days. So, and especially because we got back Sunday, got off the boat, drove home from New Orleans, started doing laundry and everything, and then passed out. And then I had to work the next morning at 8:00. But what I do whenever that happens is I just take my work calendar and I just block it off for the day. So there's nothing that anybody can do to try and schedule a meeting or anything like that. It's just, I'm just like, nope. I'm incommunicado. I got to go through a week and a half of emails. I don't want to deal with anybody. So
I like to have the buffer day
to
kind of just do nothing. If we're going to be getting back home, kind of early, like before around like lunchtime, then usually I'll be fine with just that day. But I don't know. The last like year or so, I've been a fan of requesting like an extra day or two off of work and just not telling anybody.
Yeah, like usually when we go, we either go somewhere usually Monday through Friday if it's a regular trip. Our beach trip every fall, we go Saturday to Saturday. So then I've got Sunday to decompress and just watch football and do laundry and stuff. But yeah, it's not normally that we get back on a Sunday at like 5 or 5:30 at night, and then I got to work the next morning. So that was rough. But yeah, it was a blast. Sean is now on a cruise as well with his wife and their oldest little girl. Wait, so he's not here. Yes.
So they left one of their kids, right?
Mm-hmm. They left the baby with my parents because taking a
well, when you say it like that, it sounds a little better.
Yeah. Well, they didn't leave her like at a fire station or anything, but yeah, with a 9-month-old on a cruise, it's not going to be it's not going to be very fun.
How old is Kira?
She's 3.5 now.
Okay.
So it's a good age. And, Eliza, my daughter. I remember
when she was born.
Yeah. My daughter is a little bit over 5 now. She was perfect. She was a trooper. I mean, she was staying up till 10 o'clock most nights when normally she goes to bed at 7:30. But, she would take a nap during the day if she needed to, or just crash when we were watching a show at night. She would just we were watching some rock show or something that was like a 30-minute show, and it's loud and crazy and there's fire and all this, and then I look over at her in her chair and she's just passed out. I'm like, yep, that is perfectly fine.
So when we were kids, we went on a cruise with my mom and my mom and then one of her friends, and there were a whole bunch of kids there with us, and there was pictures of a lot of us like sleeping at the dinner table at night just because we were so exhausted from everything that we were doing.
Yeah. Thank you, John, in the chat. It was a very nice vacation. Derek, I agree. So ours wasn't even Monday to Sunday. Ours this time, it was a super long cruise. It was Saturday to the next Sunday. So it was crazy. So I had to take Friday off from work so we could drive to New Orleans and then get on the boat Saturday at noon. But yeah, it was a blast. Sean's hopefully having a blast. I haven't heard from him. But yeah, he'll be back next week. We'll be back to our normally scheduled programming. Then I don't think we're going to miss any episodes anytime soon. After this, I've been telling everybody for the last month and a half or something that our schedule is about to get crazy. It's about to get normal again now. Next week, like I said, he'll be back. We're going to do our Game Awards show predictions. As the news has been pretty weak here lately, just because it is. And then the week after that, we'll recap the Game Awards, and hopefully there'll be a lot of good stuff to talk about. Hopefully it'll be better than Summer Game Fest was, but we'll see. One other note here, I don't know if anybody else has done this. I think in our Discord, Sean and I were the only ones, if I remember correctly, but I did I registered to get a pre-order for PSVR 2, and I did. So, expensive, yes, but it's one of those, God, there's thunderstorms here right now, and I can see the lightning going crazy. So if it cuts out, I don't know what I'm going to do. We'll just start over, I guess. Good Lord. But I got the Horizon bundle and I'm pretty pumped for it. I don't know that there's anything else I really want to play when it comes out. I feel like there's still got to be stuff that they haven't told us yet because the launch lineup isn't exactly stellar, but I still hold out hope that at some point next year, I'm going to be playing Half-Life Alyx on that thing as well.
My big hang up right now on PSVR 2 is that, at least in the past, it hasn't really seemed like Sony has invested a lot in PSVR exclusives.
Same as they did with the Vita. Yeah.
If Horizon Call of the Mountain is the first of many,
John,
that could be a really great thing. But if Horizon Call of the Mountain is like even on PS5, a lot of these games we're only getting, but a lot of these series we're only getting one installment per console now. So if Call of the Mountain is like the big thing for PSVR 2 and like that's it ends up turning into like almost a $600 game.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. But I'm one of those things where it was almost like FOMO because I never got PSVR 1. Sean ended up getting it and he liked it. But I just never wanted to take the leap. Derek says my big hang up on PSVR 2 is that I'm poor.
Because I almost feel like I almost feel like I would just rather have another PS5.
Yeah. Yeah. Have one upstairs, one downstairs, or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because we like right now, so this is where I record a lot of my Let's Plays and stuff.
Yeah.
If I'm recording anything on PS5, I've got to move a whole bunch of equipment and stuff into like my actual game room. And I guess it's not that big of a deal, but I'm kind of over it.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've really just got, I mean, we've got up here where we record, just got this tiny little TV. So, and my kids have a big TV, but that's
and I know you share, at least right now, you share your PS5 with your kids too.
Yeah. Yeah. I really would not I would like for that to not be a thing.
I see you on there playing Rocket League and Minecraft all the time.
Rocket League. And if you see me playing Madden now, Madden 23, it's not going to be me. I mean, I'll probably get to it at some point, but right now, if it says I'm playing God of War, that's me. Anything else, it's not me, because I'm just
I really enjoyed Madden, especially I play Madden pretty much every year, like almost right when it comes out, as part of my like get hyped for football season ritual.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, I never really understand any of the criticism. I understand some of it, but not to the degree like people are acting like Madden 23 like murdered their firstborn child. It's like it's another Madden game. Like what are you expecting?
Right. It's fun no matter what. It's fun. I mean, I was looking in the closet today because I was just trying to find my kid's backpack. We couldn't find it, and it turns out it was in my truck. Idiot. But in that closet I've got all my PS4 games, and I was like, holy crap, all my my physical games.
Yeah.
And right next to each other, I had Madden 15, 16, 17, and then I took 18 off, and then I got 19 because I think that was when we drafted Saquon. I was like, okay, now I care about football again. And then I didn't buy it again until 22 last year. And then my kids wanted to buy 23 this year. So now if I want to play it, I didn't have to pay for it. So that's always good.
I think I have all of them that you don't have.
Oh, really?
During the whatever year it was that the Eagles and the Patriots played each other in the Super Bowl, I think it was 18. There was a like Madden Gold Edition for like $5. And I was like, I haven't played Madden in such a long time. I'll get that. And that was 18. And then I didn't play 19. And then I've gotten 20 and all of them since then.
Okay. See, I used to, when I had my PS2, I definitely got Madden. Oh no, I got Madden 01 on PC before I got because I didn't get my PS2 until 01. And then I think I got 02, 03, 04 was Vic on the cover. I remember that because he was just absolutely unstoppable. And 05.
Before the incident.
Yeah. I hate him so much. And then PS3, I probably got it just about every year. But what I did, I don't have any of those games because I would always trade it into GameStop for like $5 off and then just get the new one, which was dumb. But I mean, I don't need every copy of Madden. So
yeah, I didn't really play a whole lot of Madden until I haven't really been a football fan that long. I really became a football fan probably in the last I guess it's probably been like 4 or 5 years now. I guess right around like Madden 18 or so, was when I just really kind of went all in on football and decided that was going to be the one sport that I actually watch.
Yeah. I love it. It's the best, even though my Giants are now showing their true colors. It is what it is. I knew it had to, the bubble had to burst at some point. We have no talent.
I mean, even, okay. They're what? Third in the conference right now? Or in the NFC
in the division, yeah.
But that division is a powerhouse.
We could technically have every team make it.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That one of the games that I was watching the other day, they were saying that if the season were to end like right now, the entire NFC East would make the playoffs. And I don't know if that's ever happened before.
I don't think it has. And it's funny because going into this year, it was what everybody always called it, the NFC least, and now it's actually the NFC. Because
I remember a couple of years ago, the NFC East was so bad. Then the what were they? Washington football team at the time, they made the playoffs being like 5-12 or something.
It wasn't that
maybe
bad,
like-
but it was bad. I think they were 7-9. They won the division. They hosted Tampa, and Tampa beat them. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was 2 years ago. That was when Tampa won the Super Bowl. Yeah.
And that year, I think so they were 7-9 leading the division. I want to say across the entire division, they had like 20 wins total for the whole season. And most of those wins were just them beating each other.
Yeah. It was. Oh, yeah, because that was also the year that Dak got hurt when he just destroyed his ankle. So the Cowboys went in the tank that year as well. Yep, that's true.
Gosh.
Oh, well.
They've really turned around. And now they have the high their division has the highest win percentage across any of the divisions.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it helps when the stupid Eagles are 10-1, but
it does, yeah. I mean, because you've got the 10-1 Eagles, the
Cowboys are 8-3.
That sounds right.
Or no, 9-3.
9-3. Cowboys or Giants are what, 8-4?
We're 7-5, and then the Commanders, I can't say that name, are 7-6, I think.
That's such a bad name.
Or I mean, no, we're 7-4. They're 7-5. This is week 13. That's what it is. They haven't had their bye yet. That's now it. Okay, that makes more sense. But yeah. So James, you had something you want to talk about? Knives Out?
Yes. So have you seen Knives Out?
I have not. I've heard great things, but
it is really good. And the reason I put it in there, I really wanted to go see Glass Onion, which is supposed to be kind of the same director, same everything. And it Daniel Craig's character from Knives Out is the detective in this one once again. And people have been saying good things about it. It's getting a limited theatrical release, only at like certain theaters across the nation, and it's not playing anywhere in my area, which I'm really disappointed about. But I think December 23rd, it's supposed to come to Netflix.
Okay. I thought it was a Netflix movie. Yeah, I couldn't remember.
I think it was November 23rd in limited theaters for like a week, and then December 23rd on Netflix. Okay. If you haven't seen Knives Out, though, I'd really recommend it. I love that movie.
Is it on Netflix? I think it probably is. If they got the sequel, then I have to assume the original theatrical is on Netflix. I assume it is, but
I would assume so. Maybe, but it is really good.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I put that on there because I rewatched that movie the other day, and this might be a holdback, a point against it for you. Rian Johnson,
I know, I hate
is
him.
the director of the movie, and I hate. It's so good, but it makes me annoyed that it's so good because of how much I don't like The Last Jedi.
Yes.
Which this isn't a Last Jedi hate cast, not this time.
No.
But
we'll do that on the 5-year anniversary.
Jeez. But I would highly recommend those movies.
There you go, John, in the chat. Nailed it. Can't watch it. The director buried Star Wars. Thank you. That stupid movie, as soon as she's out in space and she starts wiggling her stupid fingers when she's dead, I'm like, we're just making stuff up now. The only good part of the whole movie, well, the throne scene was a good fight, but then when you see the videos of how they're just standing around waiting, I'm like, God, this is horrible. The only good thing, I mean, it was a beautiful movie. I'll give it that. Beautifully shot. That's about the only good thing I can say. And the whole, even though it makes no sense, the whole, the light speed through the, the hyper jump, whatever it's, I can't even remember what the hell, when it goes through the ship, that was cool, but also not possible. And whatever. But no, I've heard good things. I just checked Glass Onion. It's a 93 on Rotten Tomatoes. So
shoot.
So that's very good.
And they have like I think they have like an all-star cast in there. They had a really great cast in the first one too. I know Chris Evans was in there, Daniel Craig, like I already mentioned. A bunch of other famous people that I'm forgetting.
Yeah.
But I want to say like Bautista, Edward Norton.
Bautista was in it. Yep.
I want to say both of them are in Glass Onion. Yeah, definitely some fun movies there, though. I would just imagine, don't even think about Rian Johnson and just go see those movies.
Oh, I can't.
Just watch them and let me know what you think.
God, I hate that man so much. I don't need to get into it.
We don't need to go into this. Let's move forward.
All right, James.
Yes.
I see what you've been playing this week. Let's tackle the big one. So it seems like I have not been on Twitter a lot. Well, obviously I wasn't on Twitter last week at all.
Well, I was going to ask actually.
You want to go through the other ones first?
Well, I was going to ask you. You just said you hadn't been on Twitter much. I was going to ask about your cruise. Were you able to access social media and stuff like internet
so a little bit? So what I could do, here's a tip, because I manage our mobile. I've been doing cellular phones, mobile devices, everything ever since I got out of college, starting at AT&T, and now I manage the company I work for. I manage all of our accounts across the entire globe, all of our mobile accounts. So just an FYI to anyone, if you ever take a cruise, make sure you go in airplane mode when you're on the boat, period. If you're on the boat, you will see that you can join a mobile network called Cellular at Sea, usually is what it shows up as. But that is like a cell phone tower that is on the actual ship. If you roam off of that, you will rack up hundreds of dollars in charges in literally minutes. Don't ever connect to it. Don't ever do it. We could get Wi-Fi on the boat. My wife, you could only have one device signed on at a time. We paid like $160 for the week, and it was like 3 megabits. It was horrible. But you can only
that's what I was going to ask about.
One device signed on at a time. So, I mean, there was a sports bar there, so we could go watch football and stuff. But yeah, like just trying to check my fantasy on her phone, like it's the slowest thing ever. But the good thing is, AT&T and Verizon both have this. You can add something. It's on Verizon. It's called the Travel Pass. On AT&T, it's the International Day Pass. Basically, what it does is when you're on land, away from the boat, and you can connect to towers in whatever country you're in. Almost every country in the world, except for like some small areas in the Middle East and I assume China and stuff like that. But and you can just, for $10 a day, you can use your phone, and just your plan goes with you. So So that's what I did. I mean, mine goes to the company. Mine goes to the company anyways, and I run it, so I can do whatever I want. So I would get on my phone when we would go into port. Those 4 days we were in port, I was trying to catch up on
everything,
emails and fantasy and sports news and stuff. I wasn't really looking at gaming Twitter a lot. I jumped in and out. But I just haven't been. And like Sean and I were saying on a few episodes ago, Twitter's it's just, I don't know. I've mostly just been getting on Twitter to look at football stuff lately, just because all the people I follow in video games are just so, I just can't really take it as much as I used to.
I'm kind of at the same point that for video game stuff, I would much rather interact with the people in the Discord. That I hardly even bother going to Twitter anymore for video games and stuff.
Yeah, what I do now when I do the rundown for the podcast, as we're about to get into, I'll go to IGN, even though it's hard to fill, you got to sift through all the movie stuff and all this random crap. I'll go to Push Square, I go to VGC, and I look up what the news was for the last week, see if there's anything I missed. Usually what I do, if I'm on Twitter, I'll screenshot a story, or if it's something I want to talk about, save it to my phone. And then when I do the rundown, I look at my photos, put it in the document, delete it, and keep going. But yeah, that's a little peek behind the sausage, but yeah. But yeah, so do you want to start with the big one, or do you want to start? Because I've only been playing that.
You've only been playing that one? Yeah. My other ones will be small, so let's get those out of the way first.
Okay.
So, well, where am I? Okay, there I am. Have you played Control? So I've been hopped back into Control. I played it when it came out on Xbox. The Ultimate Edition that's supposed to have some quality of life improvements, frame rate, all that good stuff. Performance enhances. Was a PS Plus game a while back.
Yep. I
wasn't really sure what I wanted to play after finishing God of War Ragnarok, which we'll talk about here in a second. So I've just been kind of hopping in and out of that. It's been fun. It's a lot of I don't really know what to compare it to, but it's a third-person shooter, but I almost feel like it's more of like a third-person platformer. Either like a I feel like it's a platformer in the same way that I feel like Returnal is kind of a platformer, that your movement and your the way you move around your stage, the way you move around enemies, the way you're aware of kind of what's going on around you is much more important than the attacks you're doing and the damage that you're giving and all that good stuff. Anyway, so I loved that game when I played it first on Xbox a couple years ago. I want to say it was 2018. Does that sound right?
I think it was 2019. I think it won Game of the Year 2019. At least at IGN it did. It's one of those I've wanted to. It always looked super cool. I never wanted to play it on PS4 because I heard it just did not run well. I know they did the PS5 patch, so that's.
I think you're right.
Yeah, that's one of those that I think, because I've got it in my library from the PS Plus collection or PS Plus regular or something. I can't remember which it was, but
I think it was one of the regular monthly PS Plus.
Okay, it's one of those that it's one of the it's on my backlog, but God Almighty, so are so many others. I still never even played Guardians of the Galaxy, and I'd still like to get to that at some point.
I will say with Control, it's not a difficult game, but it's hard to balance Control and something else. So before we started recording, I was playing a little bit of Control, and it had been probably 3 or 4 days since I'd sat down to play it, and I was like, wait, what am I doing?
Yeah. I'm
supposed to go talk to who? Like, how do I, which I'm still pretty early in the game, so I think that once I kind of play a little bit more, some of that stuff will just kind of naturally come back to me. But I definitely recommend checking out Control, especially if you have it from PS Plus. I think it might also be on Game Pass. I know it was for a while.
It definitely
I'm not sure if it's still on there. Oh, and I said 2018. I know that's not right because I know that it wasn't up against God of War and Red Dead.
Oh yeah, and Spider-Man. Yeah.
And Spider-Man. Yeah.
Yep.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, Sean still says it's better than God of War. I can't wait to get his thoughts on Ragnarok fully now that I know he's beaten it, and I think he got the platinum before he left.
If you watched my PS4 exclusives rankings, you would know which one of those games I ranked better.
It's God of War.
Maybe.
God of War to me was the game of the generation, but that's just me.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll save it. I'll save it till we get there.
You're okay. And the other thing that I've been playing, I have 2 other ones. I'm gonna go to the third one that's on the document next.
Okay.
So I jumped back into Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks. This has been my football game the last week or so. And this is the mobile Zelda games like Spirit Tracks and Phantom Hourglass. The longer I spend away from them, I'm like, those games aren't that bad.
But
then I start playing them again, and they're having me like blow into the microphone and
I can't
move around with the stylus. And it's like, this is based like, if I'm moving with the stylus and attacking with the stylus and blowing into the microphone, like you could have made this an iPhone game. And
they did it right on the 3DS. Like you can have 2 screens and you don't have to incorporate the stylus into gameplay. You can use the bottom screen like in Link Between Worlds,
right,
to just select your items and stuff and see the map. Like that's what it should be. It shouldn't be dragging Link around with a friggin' pen. Like,
and that's the same thing that they did when they re-released Wind Waker and Twilight Princess on Wii U. Yep. You had your like map and your items and stuff on the gamepad.
And that's what Breath of the Wild was supposed to be until they just said, no, we're just going to do the same thing as the Switch. And yeah.
But I am having fun with it. I'm still pretty early. I don't think it's a very long game. I want to say I've probably played 4 or 5 hours. And I think I've gotten through 2 or 3 dungeons. And I think there's probably only like 5 or 6 dungeons total. So I'm thinking I'm going to wrap up the game probably maybe like 15 hours total, which is pretty short for a Zelda game. But knowing myself, I'm going to want to go around and get all the heart containers and do all this stuff. Yeah, Spirit Tracks. I can't say that I would really recommend Spirit Tracks if it's definitely so Spirit Tracks and Phantom Hourglass, I would say, are ones that I think really need to just be completely remade. just because the touch controls, it's just not really that fun.
No, I just,
it's fun enough. I mean, it's fun enough for me to play during football, though.
yeah, I just can't. It's the only Zelda games I haven't played are Wind Waker, because I still assume they're going to put it on Switch. I mean, I played Skyward Sword for an hour, and then I was like, that was a waste of $60.
Mm-hmm. I
and
said on this very podcast that game would not work on Switch, and people were like, "No, they'll figure it out."
No, it was horrible. So I haven't played Wind Waker. Whenever they put it on Switch, I will. I just don't want to drag my Wii U out of from the grave. I haven't played the multiplayer games. Oh, actually, I haven't played the 2 Oracle games too. Those, man, I hope they remake those like they did Link's Awakening.
Do you have a 3DS? You still have your 3DS?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. You can get the Oracle games on 3DS for like $4.99.
Yeah, but I'm just holding out hope now that they're gonna give them the Link's Awakening treatment.
Maybe,
but that's probably stupid.
So I played both the Oracle games. I can't remember if it was this year or last year. And I had so much fun with them. Yeah. I think I want to say it's been a while since I played A Link to the Past. I want to say the Oracle games are up there with A Link Between Worlds for me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Definitely above Link's Awakening. And I even like Link's Awakening more than most people, I think.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed with the remake, but I mean, it was still a Zelda game. It just wasn't. I've heard so many people say that the Game Boy version is their favorite Zelda ever. So I think I just built it up way too high in my mind. But it's not like it was a bad Zelda game. It's definitely not top tier when it comes to the top-down Zeldas, I would say.
I will say, I think I like the Game Boy version more than the Switch version. Because even though it is almost like a direct remake, there's some of the like you know how on like a lot of the 2D Zelda games, your spin attack is basically like unblockable.
Yeah.
It's some of that stuff that's like that we kind of grew up knowing that they didn't really incorporate into the Link's Awakening remake. And I don't know, it kind of just took it down a peg for me.
Yeah. In the chat, Derek says he played 2 minutes of Spirit Tracks and he just couldn't do it. That's you're my spirit animal. Apparently that I can't say spirit animal. Apparently that's the cultural I don't even know. Whatever. And then John Breath of the Wild just needs to patch out the breakable weapons. I'm still so interested to see if Tears of the Kingdom, I assume it's going to have the breakable weapons, but who knows? I just hope we get 8, 10, 12 dungeons instead of 4. But
I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't have breakable weapons. I think I feel like I won't really be surprised either way. I could see them getting, because I feel like in Breath of the Wild, mild spoilers for Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild, the whole thing is that you're kind of in a state of like desperation, or I feel like that's kind of the theme of the whole game. Whereas if they move away from that theme a little bit, they might be able to get rid of the breakable weapons and for it to make sense. Or if they start you out, since it is a direct sequel, if you start the next game with a good weapon, they might just make that like your weapon, and then that weapon's not breakable.
That's what I want. If there's other weapons you can get, that's fine. But like the Master Sword should never break or power down. That's just damn it, whatever. But yeah, stupid Spirit Tracks. You also been dabbling in Beat Saber, I see.
I have. So I've been rather vocal that I do not think that for $550, there's no way I'm getting a PSVR 2. Not right now, maybe in a couple years. And part of that is because I've never really played VR at all. And so I was talking to my parents about, like, they were asking me about like VR and stuff because they're kind of interested in VR. And I was like, yeah, I've never really done it. Like none of my stuff, like I don't have any VR. I've never really played it. And my stepdad decided So we bought our house about a year ago, and he was, oh, I've never bought you a housewarming gift. And so he decided to go out and buy Sarah and I an Oculus.
Nice.
Or a Meta Quest 2.
Just call it Oculus.
Yeah. So
I hate Meta.
the Quest. But we just got that. We took it out of the box literally yesterday, and I played Beat Saber for probably about an hour. And I think I'm getting it. I kind of understand. I understand what people really enjoy about VR, but I'm still not quite sold on the whole $550 price point. But I'm kind of coming over that hill. Have you played much VR?
I've done a little because my kids got a Quest 2 not last year. Was it last year or the year before? I can't remember. And my now 12-year-old was so into Beat Saber, and he was downloading mods and doing all this stuff. And he was like recording himself and posting it to YouTube. And he was just like, and I'm like, and I've got no rhythm to begin with. But
I'm still pretty bad at it. Fortunately though, so the Quest 2 came with Beat Saber.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I don't know if it always does that, or if that was like a
it was probably a promo because he had to buy it. Yeah.
But also, really cool.
My God, if you guys can hear a weird noise in the background, when we were on the cruise, my 12-year-old who I was just talking about, Mexican guy came up to us and was like, "Hey, you want to buy this?" And it was a conch shell or a conch shell. I always forget how you're supposed to say it. And he's just blowing into that stupid thing now. So if you hear, it's him blowing into a conch shell. So yeah.
I hadn't heard anything until like just a second ago. I heard like just a little bit while you were talking.
I think he's on the front porch watching the storm and just blowing his shell, which is that's a weird thing to say. Derek in the chat playing Castlevania Symphony of the Night for the 4th time. May actually beat it this time. I've only beaten it. I've played it twice. The first time I couldn't get into it. I didn't get it. It was before I was really getting into Metroidvanias that weren't Metroid and, projectile weapons and stuff. But then when I played it the second time, I remember it clicked when I finally got the Basilard, and it was such a quick attacking weapon that I was like, now I get it. But I didn't get I got the good ending, but I got through the upside down castle, but I had to look up a guide, and there's some OP weapon you can get that just destroys everybody at the end of it. So I got that to actually beat it. But yeah, Symphony of Night is awesome.
I haven't played Symphony. I've never played any Castlevania. Wow. I've been eyeballing the Castlevania Anniversary Collection.
It's
that
awesome.
Pretty frequently goes on sale for like $10.
I got it for 10. I got that and Contra. They were both on sale for $10. I just grabbed both of them. I've only played them both a little bit, but I'm like, that's a game that I'll never have to delete it off my hard drive because it's like 800 megs or something. And it's just fun to always go back and play those games.
Whenever it's on sale, I'm not at a spot where I want to play it. And then I get to a point where it's like, okay, I'm ready to play it now. And it's back up to like, I don't know, what is it, like $20, which is still not bad.
Oh, you want to know what's really stupid? One of my favorite games this year put out a PS5 version, Shredder's Revenge. I'm like, oh, that'll be a free upgrade, right? No, if you own the PS4 version, you have to pay $25 for the PS5 version, and there's literally nothing done. I mean, nothing different at all. It's the exact same game. It's just the PS5 version.
It's like a pixel art.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
If it was going to be a free upgrade, I was going to go and get the platinum again, but I'm not paying $25 just to play it again on PS5 and have nothing be different.
Is $25. Is that how much it is just outright?
Yes.
Okay. So you're just buying the full game again?
Yeah. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
They say,
maybe eventually.
John and Derek, I think they both agree that I'm supposed to kick you off this podcast now for not playing Castlevania.
Okay.
I will say
happen eventually.
The Castlevania Advance Collection was not as good as I was hoping it would be. And that's because I played Aria of Sorrow first, which that game is awesome. And it was worth the $20 just to play that game. But the other two, the two 3D or GBA games that came before it are not as good. I should not have played Aria first because now I can't go back and play those other two.
Are those also on? Awesome. I want to. Castlevania Advance Collection, is that on all consoles? In my mind,
Yes,
I associate it with Switch, but I think that's because it was originally revealed at a Nintendo Direct. Does that sound correct?
that sounds correct. But yeah, I got it on my PS5, I think.
Okay.
That came out after the PS5. Yeah, I played it on my PS5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but Castlevania, definitely a series I want to get into at some point. Eventually, my availability to play those games is going to line up with a sale of that game, and I'm actually going to start them. But until that time, I guess John and Derek can not talk to me for a little while.
You're banned.
Yeah.
You're banned from the Discord for 24 hours. I'm going to do it right now. Let me sign into my notes here. Okay, cool. Let's get to the big kahuna, because I haven't really got to talk to you. I mean, we've DM'd a little bit about it.
We've DM'd a little bit. I've been watching your trophies like a crazy person.
Yeah.
No one. I haven't looked recently. I don't think I've looked at your trophies since you've come back from your vacation. There was a point though that I kept looking and I was like, man, Kevin's not. He hasn't made any progress.
Yeah.
And then you went on vacation. And then I was like, whatever.
Yeah. So
Sean,
you beat it.
Yes, Sean and I both got the platinum.
Nice. Do you know how long did it take you?
I don't remember. I meant to look.
Okay. I'm at 14. I'm a little bit over 14 hours so far.
I want to say, I think Sean said it took him like 45 or 50. I think it took me much longer than that, but I was also incredibly stubborn for a lot of it and refused to look up anything and would just keep facing the same enemies and just keep dying repeatedly.
Right. Derek, good for you. Good for you. Hell yes. I eat Hot Pockets at least once or twice a week. So dinosaur chicken nuggets are awesome. Trust me. So yeah, I think that's what it took. So I got the platinum in the first God of War. Sean never went back to get it. And it took me around 40 hours, I think. But what I'm doing when I'm going through this, I'm trying to, if I see a Nornir chest, I'm like, I'm opening this. I mean, some of them are locked because I don't have whatever.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, but that's so like I'm trying to do if I see a chest, I'm like, I'm not leaving this area until I get over there. I got to swing this thing over here and grapple hook over there to get it. And then I got to have Atreus shoot this thing with this green thing. And then that opens. I can go over there and open. I'm like trying to get all the apples and the horns and all that crap.
So that's how I was at first in the beginning, like early part of the game. It feels like you can kind of 100% it as you go. And then I want to say, once you get to like maybe the third area, maybe like 15, 20, you're probably coming up on it. Maybe like the 20-hour mark was where I got to a point that it seemed like I was just running into so many things that I just couldn't do that it was kind of hard to just keep up that enthusiasm of like doing everything that I can. But I was really satisfied with how much I was able to do like without a guide. I think you and Sean mentioned this 2 weeks ago. The ravens are significantly easier to find in this game than they were in the first God of War.
The first one, it seems like it seems like every other one I came across was hidden and I could like hear it, but I can't see it. And then you had to do something crazy to actually hit the stupid thing.
Something that Sean mentioned last week that helped me find a lot of the ravens was that if you turn on the environmental subtitles, every once in a while you'll just be walking around and on the screen it'll say Raven croaks, and that's when you should stop and look for a raven.
That's what I couldn't remember what he said it was, so I went into accessibility and I turned on audio cues or something, and then I was like, well, this is annoying, this cannot be what he meant, because every time like an X would pop up, it would be like ding. I'm like, okay, I this is breaking the immersion. I can't do this.
I had on, which having the environmental subtitles up, it'll say like wind blowing, raven croaks, and it's like, so it does kind of break the immersion a little bit, but in the long run I appreciated not having to look for all the ravens. I think I found about 40 of them without a guide or anything, and there's 48 total, I think. But that was helpful.
I think I'm in the teens so far. But man, I'm loving this game. I will say, so I did, because like I was DMing James the other day or yesterday. I got to the part that I've heard so many people talk about around 10, 12 hours in, where everything just comes to a crawl. And I DM'd him. I was like, so is this the part everybody's talking about? He's like, yep. And I'm like, okay, I get it. I'm just picking fruit. I'm like, what the hell is happening? This is not God of War. This is pissing me off. But when you get to the end of that section, like I was also DMing James about, there's a boss fight
that is
freaking awesome.
Boss battle. And part of my issue with that section is that it's long. It's kind of also an exposition dump. And
yeah,
those sections when you're playing as somebody else, when you're doing combat as that other person, I actually find it quite enjoyable. It's just that like it's a lot of exposition, a lot of like walking and talking and following characters and messing with animals.
It's almost like it turns into like Firewatch or something for a lot of it. It's just, so I get why everybody, I definitely say it's a negative for the game for sure. And I get why everybody was mad about it.
Those sections, I don't necessarily think they should be removed from the game entirely, but I think they could have like trimmed them down a little bit, made them maybe more, I don't know, maybe add a little bit more combat to them, or make them like to where they go like a little bit quicker, that you're not going from like, oh, now we have to go over here. Oh, let's go check on this animal over here. Oh man, this one looks like a giant cow. Oh, wait, my other friend.
It reminds me of the MJ segments in Spider-Man.
Oh, I thought it was much worse than the MJ section.
Well, they're shorter at least, yeah. But it's the same kind of like, I don't want to be doing this. I want to just kill stuff and advance this. And I know it is advancing the story and everything, but it's it could have been trimmed down. It could have been done differently, but
yeah. So there were sections where I'd be playing the game and then all of a sudden like a cutscene would happen and then you would take over as this other character. And I'm just like, oh man.
Yeah.
Here we go again. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go do something else for a little while. And I just stopped playing the game for a little bit. And I don't know. I stand by what I said though, that I don't think they should have taken those sections out, but I think they should have done something to make those sections a little bit more engaging.
They could have been done better. Yeah.
I do think that those sections, I'm trying to be vague for
I know
people that haven't played the game. I think that those sections are really great for story and for character development. But sometimes when I'm playing God of War, I just want to kill things.
Yeah. Since you've beaten it, and I'll get Sean's thoughts next week, but with no spoilers, are you satisfied with the story, how everything wraps up and everything? I'm like
very much so.
Okay, because I think so far when we get out of those boring sections, when I'm just Kratos and I'm advancing that story and I'm meeting new people, and that's another thing. This new area I got to. One thing I love about this game is the differences in the locales, the biomes, whatever you want to call them. Mm-hmm. They're so different. Like
the realms feel different.
Like when I just got to Vanaheim today, I went through there and I'm like, this is just absolutely beautiful. And when you get to near the end of it, something happens to where the environment completely changes. And I'm like, it's even more beautiful now. This is crazy. Mm-hmm. And the boss fight there is amazing. Oh my God, that was so freaking cool.
There's like a North Vanaheim and a South Vanaheim.
Okay.
That are they're two very different areas.
Okay.
I will say Vanaheim has the worst collectibles. I needed more help getting the collectibles there than any of the other places.
I did see a couple of chests that I could not get to, and that was really annoying. But I know I'm going to have to go back and do cleanup either way.
Yeah.
This just popped into my head, and I don't know why it just popped into my head. Maybe because I was talking about the different areas and stuff. But this game to me, if it were not for Elden Ring, even though I'm probably not even halfway through the game yet, I would be like, this is my game of the year. It's amazing. I don't know in the end if I'm going to like it better than the first one. It's going to depend how the story plays out, but I'm loving the story so far. I'm loving the acting and everything in this is just on another level. Like Santa Monica. Oh my God. Like And I was a little bit nervous since it wasn't Corey directing it this time. I know he was like the creative director, I think now, and Eric Williams is the game director. I was nervous, but I'm like, they just get it. It's so well done. It's so high quality. I did today when I was playing for a little bit on my lunch break, I was like, let me just go from favorite performance to favorite graphics. I was like, okay, it doesn't look that much different. And then I start moving and I was like, oh, hell no. Nope. Going back to 60 frames. I didn't even
try out the graphics mode.
Horrible. I'm like, nope. After buttery smooth 60 frames, I cannot do this.
Yeah.
I do think this game so far has bigger and better set pieces and boss fights than the first one. I love the first one. I love fighting the stranger, Baldur. I love the dragon fight, but there wasn't a lot of like, and the ending boss fight was super cool. But like this, it's just like I'm running into mini bosses, and
there's a lot of mini bosses. There's a lot of good mini bosses,
like ancient tree spirits and these dragon things, and like
and there's some that come up quite a bit. I think it's called like a Dreki or something, which is like a four-legged dragon or giant. It's like a giant lizard.
Yep.
Those you fight quite a few of those. Probably like 10 of those.
Yeah. There's also a lot more enemy.
Maybe like 4. Maybe those appear probably like 4 or 5 times.
Okay.
But every time they kind of change them up a little bit, so it didn't really bother me that they kept bringing those back. And then I want to say 1 or 2 of them were side quests and stuff too. But I do think that the enemy variety is a lot better in this game.
Absolutely, yeah. I felt like I was just fighting Draugrs or those floaty eye things over and over again in the first game. That's one thing I have not been doing. I've done 1 side quest, but now I'm like, I'm loving this story so much. I'm going to mainline this because I'm going to get this platinum. I'm going to go back and do everything. I just want to see how this plays out. The one side quest I did was in the Dwarven realm. I can't remember, Svartalfheim or whatever. I can't say any of these names. With all the water, and you had to like, Mimir asks you to turn off, and Mimir is so freaking good. God, I love him. He's even better in this.
I will say, I think so. The story is great, but I think that my favorite part of the game is just hearing like Mimir and Atreus and other characters just talk to each other while you're running around the world and doing side quests and finding lore. And like, you'll find like a lore marker and they'll be like, oh yeah, this person such and such did this thing, and they were friends with Odin at first, but then they had some kind of falling out, and then you won't find out anything for a little while, and then you'll find another lore marker from like the same like lore series, and they'll tell you like a little bit more of that story. I just found it very interesting.
Yeah, I like how to Atreus a couple times has been like when you're with Atreus and then somebody else, and he's like, yeah, he's like, what's your dad doing? He's like, he just likes to break stuff. He likes loot. I'm like, yeah, I love how self-aware it is and everything, that it is a game.
I forgot about that character.
Yeah.
That's an important character, but the other everybody else in the game just stands out so much.
The character that I was with in Vanaheim, and I fought the Nidhogg, which I thought Nidhogg was just a video game. I didn't know it was a creature. That boss fight was freaking awesome. But that everything where I interact with that character, I'm like, this is like, I haven't looked at really any of the Game Awards stuff except Game of the Year. I hope everyone in this game, I hope those 2 characters, well, I hope Kratos, obviously. That's
I don't remember.
Character. And the other one should definitely be nominated because she's killing
the
it.
Character that you're with when you fight Nidhogg.
Yeah.
Is a character from the first game, right?
Yes.
Okay. But we don't want to say,
right,
based off of how things were left in the first game, we don't want to say
it turned out the way. Yeah. Okay. I felt maybe we should. I felt like all of those characters, specifically what we were just talking about, all of the character interactions and all of the resolution of conflict and like weighing choices and people not agreeing felt very organic and natural, and the game is very well written.
It didn't feel gamey to me. That sometimes it's like oh hey, I hate your guts, or in other games sometimes it'll be like I hate your guts because something happened, like here, have 3 oranges, all right, we're best friends now. And
right. Right.
Whereas I feel like even with a character that you do um kind of change the way that they look at you, even from the beginning of the game to the end of the game, the way you interact with them is different, but it's still like there's still this like adversarial relationship of like, I'm never going to be able to get over this.
Yeah, and it feels earned, and I also love how, obviously I love what they did with Kratos in 2018. And I was not one of those people that always said Kratos was a horrible character. I thought he was a fascinating character with a crazy backstory. And maybe he just wasn't the best written guy because he just would say Ares and just yell. But like, I love what they did in 2018. And now if you look at how Kratos is in this, he's evolved again from what he was in 2018. And he's so much more of a father. And he's not calling him, there is no more boy, he calls him by his name.
Right.
He shows how much he cares about his son, and that's all he cares about. He doesn't care about Ragnarok. He's going to protect his son no matter what. And it's just, I love how they evolved that.
It's hinted at in the first game when you in the first game when Atreus is like sick or whatever, and Kratos has to go to Helheim.
Yeah.
And he knows that in order to save his son, he has to go back and get his he has to uncover his past.
Yep.
And kind of go back to be the person that he was before, even
Still
though he
one of
doesn't
the
want to do that.
The coolest sequences in any game I've ever seen in my life. I'm getting chills just thinking about it.
Me too. And so that theme of I'll do anything for my son carries through this entire game.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, the last there were so I asked Sean about this. Sean and I experienced this game very differently. Sean said he didn't cry at all playing this game. I did. I cried a lot.
Oh, I cried within the first 15 minutes. I was like, you got to be kidding me. I'm not going to say what happens, but within the first 15 minutes, I was like, you got to be kidding me. Really?
So I know what you're talking about. Yeah. And Sean said he felt the same way right there. But as somebody, so that happened, and I was like, whatever, let's keep moving. Let's keep going. It's a lot of the way that they develop the characters in a way that they kind of, I mean, by this point, by the end of this game, you've been on a journey with a lot of these same characters. If you platinumed the first game and then played this game, you're looking at like 65, 70 hours.
Yeah.
That just to kind of see the things they're willing to do and the things that the people that they become by the end of the game. I'm trying to keep it vague because I don't want to spoil anything for you, but I'm really interested to hear what you think after you finish the game.
I really want to plow through it over the next week. I would love to I know I'm not going to platinum it by the time Sean comes back, but I would love to have it beaten by the time he comes back. And this might be one of those that we want to do a separate spoiler cast for. I think that could be fun. But question for you, James. Did you play, what God of War games have you played other than 2018? That's all?
That's it.
Okay. So you didn't get there's a callback in this when Kratos is talking about, oh damn, Derek cried during Red Dead 2. I got to get to Red Dead 2 too. Son of a bitch. I've got so many games.
I've started Red Dead 2 so many times.
There's a callback in that Vanaheim section when he's talking to the character that he's with, and he talks about a certain character. And I was like, Leo, I was like, yes, Ghost of Sparta.
He talks about
like, his brother. And that's what Ghost of Sparta was all about. And that game it's a PSP game. It is freaking awesome. If you can get the remastered versions on PS3, if you still have a PS3, you can get to. Chains of Olympus is fine. Ghost of Sparta, if I were to do a ranking of all the God of War games, Ghost of Sparta would be up there. It's so good. And the fact that it's
have a PS3
game, okay.
Well, so PS4 was my first PlayStation.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So I wanted to kind of place, I know God of War 3 was remastered for PS4 and awesome. I wanted to play it, but I just never really got around to it. And then I knew that God of War 2018 was even though it was a continuation, it was kind of a reboot of the series. I mean, it's definitely a continuation.
Yeah.
But it's also like a good starting point for people like me.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. You get more out of it if you've played. I mean, this is the 8th God of War game, and I've played them all multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I know God of War like the back of my hand. But yeah, like I was so glad when they referenced that. I was like, oh man, that's awesome. I'm glad that those games are, I mean, I know they're canon, but I'm glad they're not just forgotten because they were PSP games and stuff. But yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So yeah, I don't know. I've got, like I said, I'm probably not halfway yet. I want to plow through it.
What was the last big thing that you did? That boss battle?
That Nidhogg fight. And then I went back to the camp.
Okay. I forgot about the Nidhogg one.
And then I walked back with my companion back to the camp, and then that's where I saved it and stopped.
How much time was between the really cool boss battle to the Nidhogg one? Was it a long time?
Hour and a half, 2 hours maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to say you're probably like, I don't know. I just feel like I played the game so slowly and would get stuck doing like side quests and stuff that you're probably about halfway through the story.
I mean, I'm not doing any. I'm only level 3, but I don't even care. I know eventually I'll get up to level 9. I'm sure I need a. I'm sure that's a trophy.
I was like level 4 when I finished the game.
I've started running it in that area. There were a few level 4 enemies, and I was like, ugh.
I think I might have been level 5 when I finished the game.
Okay.
Even when I got the platinum, I don't think I had even reached 9 yet.
Oh, okay. So you don't have to level up.
Well, I maxed out all my gear and everything, that like everything was pretty much as strong as it could be. And I was like still like so close to getting to level 9. It's like I literally don't know what else I could do.
Yeah. To get enough XP and everything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love this game. I'm definitely just gonna I'm mainlining it from here on out. I got to see how it ends. I got to see how all these premonitions play out and everything. I'm so glad that it actually came out now. I really didn't think it was going to hit this year. I didn't think there was any chance.
There were points earlier this year that I would have bet anything that it was not coming out this year.
Oh yeah.
Which I remember we went back and forth on this quite a bit, that I was like, there's no way they're not going to they're not going to release the game this year if they have to release it in the next 2 months, and it haven't shown anything.
Yeah.
But
I know, but again, they originally said 2021. So that was the one thing where I was like, I'm holding out hope, because if not for COVID, we probably would have had this in like April of 21 is my guess. Like 6 months after the console came out. But then Christopher Judge had his issues where he couldn't do the motion capture, and he couldn't do the voice work and everything because he had a back injury or surgery or something. So who knows? But yeah.
I don't know that I don't think I ever believed that this was a 2021 game. When they mentioned this game at the PS5 reveal, like they teased it as if it was going to be a launch game.
Yeah.
Or like a launch window game, and it came out 2 years after the console.
Yeah.
But I will say, last couple things that last couple thoughts about God of War Ragnarok. I think I enjoyed my experience with this one much more. Maybe not much more, but I definitely enjoyed it more than 2018. Partially because I feel like the story hit a lot. It hit for me a lot more. And then also, I don't know if you remember when I tried playing God of War 2018, I just couldn't really get into it at first, and I had to kind of put it down and come back to it. So this one I enjoyed it more just because I was able to get into it right like from the jump. But I would say this Norse arc, if you were to judge it as one game, I think it would be probably a top 10 game for me.
Yeah. It's the first one is top 10 for me. So if this ends up surpassing it, I will be thrilled, because I really thought this was going to come out and be good, but not great. Also, I started to say this earlier and I got sidetracked. I don't remember why. Colin keeps saying that like Horizon Forbidden West is clearly better than this. Better combat, better story, better world. And I'm like, I don't think we're playing the same game. I don't think we're playing the same game. Yeah.
that I tried to play Horizon Forbidden West, and it was just, I just found it boring, and I didn't go back to it. Which I think I will go back to it eventually.
I never went back to get the platinum. I beat it and I was
Well,
just like, eh.
I didn't even I don't even know. I don't even know if I started what's considered like the main quest. Like that's how I think I played it probably 3 or 4. Like you know how there's like some a chunk at the beginning of a game where it's like, oh, we're going around and meeting characters.
It takes
and we
a
gotta
while. Yeah.
take care of this thing, and oh, there's some wild animals we gotta help these people over here before you're like introduced to like the main what's gonna be like the main conflict. I'd heard Colin a couple times say that like whatever the main conflict is of Forbidden West, like he didn't see it coming. And it's like I don't think I've even been introduced to whatever that is then.
No, because it gets crazy. I won't. It just gets.
Yeah,
it just goes sci-fi to a whole other level, and it's not bad. It's just I think I liked the first game better. I mean, I think the second one probably plays better, but the first one I just thought it wasn't as technically great. It didn't play as well. The facial animations and the talking and stuff was weird, but the story was so good and it was so new that I don't know how anybody could like Forbidden West better than Ragnarok. I just don't. And it's not that Forbidden West is a good game. It's an 8 out of 10. It's a good game. This is like a 9.5 to a 10 is what I think.
Colin also goes out of his way to say that he hates puzzles in games.
I don't think they're that bad.
I don't know how he likes any PlayStation games.
Right. And also the puzzles, there were some where you had to bounce the like I was saying last time, where you had to bounce the axe off these pink stones and through these. Those were getting a little bit annoying, but I'm not. Everything else since that, I'm like, they're not tough puzzles, and it's good to get a break and a breather after you go through a crazy combat scenario. Like I think the pacing is great. I think he's he gets this way with so many things where he was dug in saying, this will be an 85 on Metacritic. It's not going to be that good. The first one wasn't even that good. And all he can say is, fast travel sucked and the map sucked. I'm like, well, okay, I agree, but I still think it's one of the best games ever made.
I don't have an issue with the fast travel, but I will say the map is the map is pretty bad. I thought the map was fine when I was playing through the story. But then when I was going back to try to get the platinum and get collectibles and stuff, it's like you can't tell what anything is.
Yeah, it sucks. I thought for sure they would have fixed the map in this one, but they definitely did not. But I'm like, I don't. At least, well, and that's probably why I don't care right now, is because I'm just mainlining the story. I'm going to the next marker. I'm going through the semi-open world. I'm going down the path I want to go down, and once I go hunting, it's probably going to get annoying.
I don't think I found the map in this game as frustrating. I remember in God of War 2018, it seemed like there were, what are the little fast travel things called?
The realm gates,
something,
doors, something. Yeah.
Yeah. It seemed like those were everywhere. And no matter which one I went to, it wasn't where I thought it was.
Yeah.
That was in 2018. This one, every time that I fast traveled somewhere, I ended up where I thought I was going to be.
Okay.
So maybe that's a little better. I also found that if you are trying to get to a specific area, instead of looking at the map and trying to navigate yourself, if you set an icon as like, if you add it to your compass or whatever, it'll kind of give you like directions how to navigate through the world to get there, which I found to be really helpful in the post game.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. I talked to Sean about this a little bit. Specifically, I want to say right around where you are in Vanaheim, there's some sections where you'll fight enemies in one specific area, and then I'll like go through an opening, like I'll go through like a door to get to the side area to do like a side quest or something, and then I'll go back out the same way that I came, and then I'll have to fight all the same enemies again. And so there were some parts like that. I only noticed it in that one chunk of the game right there in Vanaheim, but it did kind of feel a little bit kind of like artificial padding to me. So I wasn't a huge fan of that, but still, that was probably an hour of the, I don't know, 60 hours that I played this game.
Yeah.
And then the last thing that's kind of a gripe, well, maybe two more things. One, I think the post game is very difficult. This is a hard game.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you saw, I don't remember if I mentioned this to y'all in the Discord or if I just mentioned it to Sean DMing him. There's a bug that you can't change your difficulty.
Oh yeah, you put that in the Discord, yeah.
However, they fixed it. And because before they fixed that bug, I was like, there is no way that I'm going to be able to defeat some of these bosses and get this platinum. And then, so I beat the game on normal. And then I went back and I was fighting these bosses and I put the game down to story. And some of these bosses were still giving me a really hard time.
I mean, the first God of War, doing the Valkyrie fights, that fight against the Valkyrie Queen until Elden Ring came along, that was the hardest boss fight I've ever had in my life. It was just insane. If you get to a point where you're in the post game and need help, let me know. I found a video that talked you through how to like optimize certain stats and stuff for your like boss battles and stuff. Mm-hmm.
And so there was this one boss, one of the ones in the later game that was absolutely destroying me, that I was getting, it would take him like 2 or 3 hits to just absolutely kill me. And then I'd use Resurrection Stone and then he would just get me again. And then once I implemented this build that I found online that kind of, it maximized your like health and like restoration, that you were constantly like, every time you deal damage, you would like heal a little bit of damage and like where to find all these certain items and stuff. Yeah. I ended up just absolutely smoking him with, but hopefully you have a better time with, you've probably seen some of the Berserker gravestones.
Yes.
Yeah. Sean and I didn't know what to call them for a while, so we just called them the sword hilt guys. The Berserkers are the Valkyries of this game.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Some of them are not hard, and then some of them are pretty difficult. Yeah, but I'll leave you to kind of discover all that on your own. Okay. The last thing that I kind of wanted to mention real quick, which, sorry, I feel like I'm talking forever.
That's right.
I think the game, I think the level scaling could be a little bit better. That you'll get to an area that will have certain like challenges, like combat challenges and stuff. And if you get there before you're ready for it, so remember God of War 2018, you went to, what was it? Muspelheim?
Muspelheim, yep.
Yeah. And you had the Surtur's challenges or whatever.
Yep.
If you get to those too early, you won't stand a chance, and it's not fun because you're just dying so quick.
Right.
But then if you finish the game and then come back and try to do them again, you're so strong that it's not fun because you're like killing enemies in one hit and doing all this stuff. And so I feel like so those kind of challenges, if they had made them more or less difficult depending on your actual like loadout, I think it would have made it a little bit more, made some of the side content a little bit more fun and a little bit more balanced. But other than that, I really don't have many issues with it. Have you had any control issues?
Mm-mm.
No,
I did invert the control, I never.
Yeah, you're not Sean.
I switched the circle and X because I was like,
I don't know.
I can't imagine
someone
dodging
in the world
X.
that wants X to be dodge and circle to be interact with things. I don't know why you would want that.
It makes no sense. I did, as soon as I saw that was an option, I was like, oh hell yeah. Because if I would have started playing this and I was having to dodge with X, I would have lost my mind.
Well, because I typically try to play games with their default controls.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's the way that they intended us to play it. But it felt so unnatural. I probably played it for 2 hours with the default controls, And then by the time I switched the controls, I was still pressing the wrong buttons because I didn't even know I didn't even know what I wanted to do because I was getting used to playing incorrectly.
Because you're so in your head at that point. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But I really loved God of War Ragnarok. Easily the most fun I've had with the game this year.
Yep. I love it. I can't wait to power through and see how it turns out.
I guess it's really not saying much because I didn't really get into Horizon at all. I think I said I played like 4 or 5 hours of it. Elden Ring absolutely had its way with me, and I did not enjoy it.
Yeah.
Which leaves... I don't even know what else I've played this year.
Well, God of War Ragnarok, we also got some details, and this is old news, but it's news to me because I wasn't here last week. 5.1 million sales in its first week. It is the fastest selling first-party Sony launch game ever. And of course, it also set the franchise record for a launch for God of War. So I guess it was smart of Sony to release it on PS4 and PS5 because obviously all those are not going to be on PS5. The first one sold 23 million. I got to think at the end of the day, this ends up getting close to that as well. You know, when we're 4 years from release, of course, I'm not saying this year or anything, but that's awesome for it to be the biggest game ever at launch for Sony is huge, especially as they're starting to get more PS5s out in the wild. I think they're setting up for a very good holiday season.
I would also imagine that having it available on both PS4 and PS5 would help its lifetime sales because I'd pretty much guarantee that there are going to be people that first play it on PS4 and then they get a PS5 and then buy the PS5 version and play it there, which I've also, I was talking to a guy the other day and he said that he loved the PS5 version of it so much that he went ahead and bought the PS4 version and got the platinum again.
Wow.
And I was like, does the PS4 version run terribly? And he actually said that if you're playing the PS4 version on a PS5, you still get your 60 frames and that it's still like the differences really aren't that noticeable. So
I don't know that I'm going to love it enough to pay
I might do that eventually. Eventually I'm going to want to go back and play it again. I think what'll happen is they haven't released a native PS5 God of War 2018, have they?
Not they did a quote unquote PS5 patch where they just bumped it up to 60 frames. It's not really a PS5 patch, but they released a 60 frames per second patch, which only works on PS5. That's where this whole thing gets so confusing.
Yeah.
You know, like
I think whenever the PS5 version has its own PS5 trophies, I'll probably go back and play God of War 2018 again. And when that happens, I'm pretty sure I'm just going to want to go straight into God of War Ragnarok again. Similar to, I don't know if I've talked about. Yeah, whenever I feel like watching Batman, I'll sit down and watch Batman Begins. I'm like, man, that was really good. And then that's how I end up watching the entire Dark Knight trilogy in a day.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say this fastest selling PlayStation exclusive, I feel like they say that about every game. Like,
I think before this, I think it was Spider-Man.
But I thought also The Last of Us Part 2.
I don't think Last of Us 2 wasn't because of the leaks and because people found out what was going to happen in that game early on. It didn't. I think they've hit now. I think they've hit after 2.5 years. I think they're around 10 million sold.
Oh.
But the original Last of Us is like over 20, I think, if you count the PS4 remaster as well. They haven't added in the part 1 stuff to that yet, I don't think. But yeah.
I don't know. I kind of, whenever they're talking about like sales numbers and stuff, or whenever they're trying to like talk about their most recent game, like, you know, when you're watching a football game that's like too terrible, like when you're watching the Texans and the Colts play each other and they're trying to come up with something good to say, and they're like, yes, the Texans are the only 1-8 team to have 3 interceptions this year, or something like they're just trying to find something to make it sound like they might be like remotely good.
Well, that was the Monday night game last night too. Steelers and Colts. I watched the end of it just because I was trying to see if I was going to pull out my fantasy game and win for the first time in 5 weeks, which I did. I'm still live for the playoffs, but barely.
Nice. So my fantasy team started 5-0, and I think we are now 6-6.
I'm 4-7-1 is what I am.
Jeez. You tied?
I tied. It was so frustrating.
How is
I tied, and I tied because I think Alvin Kamara ended up with 99 rushing yards. If he would have got just one more yard, I would have won. It's so stupid.
Lamar did me really well the first couple weeks.
I benched him for Geno this past week, and Geno, it was the right decision.
I benched him for Dak Prescott this week. The last 3 weeks, Dak Prescott had done better. Not this week. Not when I have him in the game.
Of course.
Yeah. But, oh well.
All right. James.
Was that it for God of War Ragnarok?
Yes.
Okay.
Would you like to get into the news of the week, sir?
Yes.
Actually, it's the news of the past 2 weeks, but whatever. There's really nothing but except this. So let's start with this. I'm sick of talking about it, but it seems like for the first time in a while, we're actually getting some new news about Activision. And this comes from VGC by way of Politico. The Federal Trade Commission is, quote, likely to file an antitrust lawsuit, end quote, to block Microsoft's takeover of Activision Blizzard, according to a new report. According to 3 sources cited by Politico, FTC Chair Lina Khan, I hope I'm saying that right, is looking to rein in the power of the world's largest tech companies. The report goes on to state that while the lawsuit challenging the deal isn't certain, several within the FTC are, quote, skeptical of the company's arguments, end quote. The FTC and Microsoft did not immediately respond to requests for comments, it has been claimed. Were the FTC to proceed, it would be a major blow to Microsoft, which is currently fighting across the pond against concerns raised by the UK regulator, the CMA, not the Country Music Awards. An antitrust lawsuit would mean Microsoft would also have to fight to push forward its acquisition of the Call of Duty maker in U.S. courts as well. The FTC was expected to rule on Microsoft's proposed acquisition of Activision Blizzard by late November. The European Commission has officially launched an in-depth probe of Microsoft's proposed acquisition of ABK. Politico also reports that the depositions of Microsoft Chief Executive Satya Nadella and Activision head Bobby Kotick have already taken place, and that if the FTC plans to move forward against the deal, the case could be brought as soon as next month, that being December. It might be December when you're watching this. Quote, central to the FTC's concerns is whether acquiring Activision would give Microsoft an unfair boost in the video game market, end quote, according to the report. These concerns echo those raised by the CMA, specifically in relation to Call of Duty. Then we also got this from VGC, where Sony is saying that, and again, this is two whiny babies fighting, but it seems like Sony might actually be starting to win. Sony claims that Microsoft is trying to make them more like Nintendo, because Microsoft claims that Nintendo's differentiated model demonstrates that PlayStation doesn't need Call of Duty to compete effectively. But this reveals Microsoft's true strategy. SIE statement reads, Microsoft wants PlayStation to become like Nintendo so that it would be a less close and effective competitor to Xbox. Post-transaction, Xbox would become the one-stop shop for all the best-selling shooter franchises on console: Call of Duty, Halo, Gears of War, Doom, Overwatch, as the decision explains, and it would then be free from serious competitive pressure, end quote. SIE's statement goes on to claim that Activision's games, quote, in particular Call of Duty, are critical to PlayStation. Quote, the franchise is firmly entrenched in gamers' psyche. Every installment since Call of Duty was first released back in 2003, holy crap, has consistently topped the charts. It states, going on to share redacted percentage figures of the share of its audience it believes it would lose to Xbox should Call of Duty go exclusive. Ignoring these facts, Microsoft argues that Nintendo has been successful without access to Call of Duty, it continues. This misses the point. The decision identifies a wide body of evidence showing that Nintendo offers a differentiated experience to Xbox and PlayStation because it is focused on family-friendly games that are very different from PEGI 18 FPS games like Call of Duty. This is supported by Microsoft's internal documents, which, so the CMA found, show that in general, Microsoft's internal documents track PlayStation more closely than Nintendo, with Nintendo often being absent from any internal competitive assessment. I will say they're right there. Switch is playing a completely different game than PlayStation and Xbox are. That's no one can argue that. Some other notes here, and then we'll go into this. Sony has also claimed that this acquisition would, quote, hurt developers and lead to price increases, end quote. Sony has said that they're confident that the UK CMA will seek to block this deal going through. Google, apparently, in some documents, has also said that they're against the case. They've got bad blood with Xbox because there's something with Chrome. What are they called? The Chrome plugin things not working. Microsoft, they didn't work well with Google or something. I don't know. But Microsoft has stated also this past week that they have offered Sony a 10-year Call of Duty deal to keep it on PlayStation. The acquisition has been cleared unconditionally in Serbia. I just thought that was funny, so I had to throw it in there because I don't know what Serbia really has to do with this, but it's pretty funny to me. I guess everybody gets a say. And also, it looks like, according to documents, that both Xbox and PlayStation don't plan to launch new consoles until 2028. I like that. If this was an 8-year console generation, that would be pretty awesome. James, I did a lot of talking, and we've been talking. All of us have been talking about this for months. It seems like years now at this point. Do you think there's any chance that this actually doesn't go through? What are your thoughts on where we sit now with the Activision acquisition?
I still think it's going to go through. That I feel like no matter what, I think that Sony, if you're Sony, the longer this goes on, the longer you just look like a whiny child. And some of the reading through some of the stuff, Sony's saying that Microsoft buying Activision is bad for the industry because it could make people buy an Xbox. It's like, so let me get this straight, Sony. You're against exclusivity now when you've been paying who knows how much money to indefinitely keep Final Fantasy off of every platform that's not PlayStation. And I feel like it's kind of the same thing. That I know, obviously, Final Fantasy isn't the same as
what it comes down to. That's
Call of Duty,
yeah.
But they're paying money, and they've said that they will continue to keep it. They've said that they'll continue to keep it on there. They've agreed that they made an offer that they would keep it on PlayStation for 10 years, and Phil Jim Spencer Ryan is out here saying that offer is inadequate and that they want you. What do they want? There are no business deals that use the word forever.
That's what Phil said. Yeah, but what crying Jim Ryan was saying was that the original offer, which I think was just 3 years, that was inadequate. Which I agree. If you're only going to say 2027, or what the hell year is it now? Yeah, 2027. Because the deal ends in 2024 that they have right now, so they would extend it 3 years. Whereas I assume this 10-year deal that they're talking about would extend it to 2034. I guess, I don't know. But it all just comes down to Call of Duty. But I agree with you. I do think it's gonna end up going through. But I think, yes, Sony looks like little whiny babies, but they're getting their way. What they're gonna end up with some kind of crazy deal. And Microsoft has also said, to be fair to Phil, who I rag on all the time, they're saying this deal doesn't make any sense if we can't sell Call of Duty on other platforms. If it's just on Game Pass, we're going to go out of business.
Right. And I think that realistically, Call of Duty is going to be on PlayStation indefinitely. But I understand that in the business world, you don't want to agree to doing anything forever. Because that's how you get stuck continuing to have crappy Xbox Live Gold games for 15 years. That's how you get stuck doing all these things that, like, you don't want to agree to do anything forever. Everything needs to have a time limit. And I don't know. I feel like from Sony's and Sony is out here acting like one of the first statements they made, it's like they're over here like no game can ever compete with Call of Duty. We're second rate trash and nobody loves us, and if Call of Duty's taken from us, then nobody else is gonna play on our console anymore. And they're out here acting like they didn't just make that they're not constantly making games that are breaking record after record, and they're acting like Microsoft isn't communicating internally, saying that nothing that they have, including Call of Duty, comes even close to what Sony was able to produce with God of War Ragnarok and The Last of Us Part 2.
Right. And also Sony, I don't know that anything can, and I know Colin has talked about this a lot too. Like, he doesn't think Call of Duty is permanent in its place at the top. I kind of think it is. I think it's just inertia at this point. Like, it's always going to be the best. I can't see a time when it's not. But
just
like,
because Call of Duty's at the top doesn't mean that you can't be successful with something else.
With Killzone or Resistance or SOCOM or new IP, and whatever. Like
Sony, you put yourself in this spot by abandoning all of your own shooters.
Hey,
and
John.
What do you know? You abandoned all your own shooters because you were making all this latent income from this third party. And now that third party is being threatened to be taken away, even though realistically it's not going anywhere. But now you're freaking out. And
I get it. I get it from both. I get it. I do get it from Sony's side. They want to make sure Call of Duty stays. They want to get it. They want to get as good a deal as they can. I do think this ends up going through. If this doesn't go through, I would be shocked, because also Colin reminded us of this on Sacred Symbols, that they have to pay $3 billion if this deal falls through. They have to cut a check to Activision for $3 billion. That's more than Sony paid to get Bungie and keep it multi-platform. They're just going to write a check for $3 billion saying, sorry, we wasted your time.
Sony's acting like Microsoft would own every first-person shooter, as if they didn't just buy Bungie.
But they're keeping
which you could make the argument that Destiny is the best shooter.
Yes, but Destiny's staying multi-platform, and
so would Call of Duty.
Bungie is not even part of PlayStation Studios, though. They just own them. They're just going to get the revenue. You know what I mean? So it's different, but I do get why Sony is like, this is, and some of the other stuff they were saying is like, Phil Spencer's talked out of both sides of his mouth about other acquisitions, like Hellblade 2,
Sony,
and Bethesda, and like all these things. He said, no, it won't be exclusive. It's fine. It's fine. No, Starfield's Xbox only. Whoops, sorry. Like, I get why they're mad, but it's all Call of Duty. You got to lock Call of Duty down for as long as you can. If it's 10 years after the deal expires in 24, that's a good starting place. You can renegotiate in 2032 if we're all still here.
The stuff, I don't know. I just feel like Sony is like, oh, well, they shouldn't be able to buy Activision because they could do this list of things. A lot of things that Sony is already doing. Like, I mean, we talked already about them paying money to keep things off of other platforms with Final Fantasy, which I would say, other than Call of Duty, I think Final Fantasy is one of the biggest, probably third-party IPs. And it also said in there that Microsoft buying Activision could be bad economically, as it could lead to price increases and this other stuff. And it's like, Sony, you are increasing your own prices of your consoles worldwide already.
Yeah. Everywhere but here. Literally everywhere but here. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I'm sick of talking about this, but it was a slow couple of weeks of news, so I wanted to talk about it. But again, I think we're both in agreement. We think it's going to end up going through. I think Sony is just doing everything they can to squeeze as much blood from the stone that is Call of Duty as they can before this actually goes through.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'm tired of hearing about it. That I wish they would just kind of finish it up already. And I wish, I don't know. I want Sony to stop their whining.
Yeah. And I do hate this acquisition acquisition game that's going on now. It's just, it sucks. It is what it is.
Right.
But yeah, it would be like if Sony, like, I know they invested 5% into Epic Games, but if somehow Sony, and they're not big enough to do this, I don't think, but if Sony bought Epic Games and they said Fortnite is now only going to be on PlayStation, that's the only thing I could think coming close to Call of Duty. You know what I mean? As far as
I don't think Sony could buy Epic Games.
No,
I feel like Epic Games is more likely to buy Sony.
Yep. And then just put it on
or at
PlayStation.
least Epic is more likely to buy PlayStation.
Yeah. All right, that's enough of that. Let's move on. I only got one other item on the news list here, and then we'll run through the wrap up. The Splinter Cell remake is still on and is part of the 20th anniversary celebration. We got some more details on it. The game is still in the prototyping phase as they're not wanting to rush into the development. They want to make sure they do this right and make it a top tier remake of a game. The core game experience, they're saying, will be the same as the original, but they are exploring new tech and ideas that they want to implement, and some elements from the other Splinter Cell games that have been released since the first one was released 20 years ago. They did confirm it's not a remaster. It's a top tier remake being built from the ground up. And they're hoping, this is what gives me hope, but it's Ubisoft, so I shouldn't do that. They're hoping to establish, quote, a good foundation for the franchise moving forward, end quote. And they also released a bunch of concept art that looks awesome. I still have never played a Splinter Cell. Because I was such a Metal Gear fan, it was like the snob in me was like, no, stealth action is Metal Gear with awesome Kojima craziness. I don't want Splinter Cell, whatever. But I want this to happen so bad. But the fact that they're still prototyping it and they've shit on Splinter Cell so many times over the years, like, I'll believe it when we see a trailer. But what are your thoughts on Splinter Cell? Have you ever played them before?
I haven't played much Splinter Cell.
Okay.
One of I want to say Splinter Cell Conviction, the 360 game, was a one of the games with gold like years ago. And I played that a little bit and I wasn't really getting into it. I played it right around the time of Watch Dogs 1, which I loved. My favorite part of that game was the stealth elements of it. And then so I played it after that and it wasn't quite what I was looking for. But people, sidebar, people had been saying that what Splinter Cell had kind of evolved into Watch Dogs. At least that's what I had heard. Okay. This is a game, though, I would definitely play it when it comes out, but it's not necessarily something that I'm gonna try to like keep tabs on or anything, or really like anticipate. It's one of them that I would be interested if it was here like anytime soon.
Yeah. I just need something to fill that Metal Gear hole in my heart, which hopefully will be the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake, which hopefully will get revealed here in a week and a half. I don't know why I do this to myself. But this is one of those, like, I don't ever want Metal Gear.
Is there something happening in a week? Oh, okay.
Yeah. But again, it's Keighley. And unless they got like Kojima's blessing to do the remake, I don't know that Keighley would want to show it on his show. I feel like that might be a Sony state of play. I don't know.
Well, I don't think Sony usually does a big showing at the Game Awards, do they?
They date their first trailer for The Last of Us Part 2 was there, I think.
Okay.
But they usually, I think Colin said this a couple of weeks ago, they usually have like one or two games, that they show there. But this would be a Konami thing, and apparently Virtuous Studios is working on it. But I mean, I want this game. I want Splinter Cell to come out. I want to play it. I know it's not Metal Gear. There's no the Kojima zaniness. There's no, otherworldly elements and, floating guys that can control your controller and stuff like that. But good military, tactical, espionage, stealth action. I'm missing it. So yeah. I hope this happens.
I mean, my Metal Gear experience is pretty limited.
Yeah.
Half of the Phantom Pain was awesome. The second half was boring.
It never should have been. I like that it was open world. It's the best playing Metal Gear game ever, but the story suffered for it.
If Act 1, we've talked about this before. I think we talk about this every time I'm on your podcast. If Act 1 was the end of that game, if the end of Act 1 was the end of the game, it would have been a easy 10 out of 10 for me.
Yeah.
And then that second half of the game where you're replaying missions under weird circumstances and like you could miss missions if you didn't do certain things in earlier missions. That I never actually finished the game because one of the missions that you had to one of the missions that you need to finish the game, you needed to do something like way earlier in another mission. So I ended up just watching the end of the game on YouTube.
I was gonna say, I hope you at least watched the ending, because
I did, yeah.
It's I like it. Some people hated it. I think it was cool, and it makes the first game make sense. It makes the first two games, Metal Gear, I'm saying the original Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2, not Solid. It makes them make a lot more sense. I like it. Is it a hell of a retcon? Yeah, but I liked it. But yeah, I don't want to talk about Metal Gear. It's so sad. All right, James, let's get to the wrap up. We got the second trailer for the Super Mario movie today. Did you get a chance to watch it?
I did.
I like it.
I am on board.
Rainbow Road. Are you freaking kidding me? I saw that I was like, wow, they're going all out. This is insane.
I think that there's going, as somebody who has played so many Mario games and seen, I want to say that I've seen pretty much everything the series has to offer.
Yeah.
I think that there's going to be so much fun and so much nostalgia packed into this movie. Even in the trailer, like one of the first couple scenes of the trailer, when you see Donkey Kong, the thing that they're standing on is straight out of
it's Smash,
Donkey
right?
Kong.
Oh no, it was Donkey. That's right. Yeah.
And
then Mario lands on the donut things from like Super Mario Brothers 3, where you stand on them, they turn red, and then they fall. I'm like, he's going through actual levels. Are you kidding me? There's a flag. Like,
there was one of the spinning
yes.
fire things.
Yes.
And he's like, okay. Okay.
And then
he goes and it looks like he almost hits it anyway. And it's like, gosh, I'm just remembering you guys doing your Let's Plays.
Oh my God. It's horrible.
I think it looks so good. I don't really care that Chris Pratt is the voice of Mario.
It's all overblown. I think his Wahoo sounded great. The Let's A Go didn't sound great, but like I don't know. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for April.
People love to hate Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
I enjoy Chris Pratt generally. I know that he's not a voice actor,
right?
But I don't think it doesn't. I mean, his Mario voice, at least what we've heard of it, doesn't just sound like Chris Pratt talking. It does sound like a little more like cartoonish and a little more like Mario-y.
I think so too. It doesn't sound like Mario's in Jurassic World or something like that.
Right. But when you put that, when you put that performance of him like kind of sounding a little bit Mario directly next to Jack Black as Bowser, who is actually like an incredible voice actor.
He's going for it.
Yeah. That it's, I mean, obviously him as Mario isn't going to look as good. I'm curious to see like Charlie Day as Luigi. I don't really think he does much voice acting. And I don't imagine it's Seth Rogen. It's Donkey Kong, right?
Yes, I just want to hear him do the laugh. That's all. I want Donkey Kong to do the meme and do the laugh. That's if he does the Seth Rogen laugh as Donkey Kong in that, I'm going to spontaneously combust in the theater.
I can't imagine him sounding like anything other than Seth Rogen.
Yes. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. I got to show my. I just watched the trailer right before we jumped on Zoom, so I haven't had a chance to show it to my boys yet. But I want to know what they think. I know my 8-year-old Casey is going to be over the moon, but I'm wondering what my 12 and my 14-year-old will think.
I'm expecting it. I am expecting it to be good. Which have they said when it comes out, like a release date or anything?
April, but I don't know if they said the actual date yet.
Okay. And yeah, the more I see, the more I'm buying into it.
Yeah, I think I am too. It's kind of like how I felt about Sonic. When they did the first Sonic trailer and he looked like an idiot, I was like, nope. Then they did the next trailer. I was like, okay, they fixed him. He looks good. And then another trailer, I was like, this actually looks like it might be good. And then I saw it and I loved it. And Sonic 2 was even better. So
yeah, I think it'll be I'll probably go see it probably on release day.
Yeah.
If the trailers continue to come out and I continue to get more and more invested in this movie, I'll definitely go see it on release day. Also, if it's coming out in mid-April, maybe it'll come out on mine and Sarah's anniversary. So that'd
be perfect. You can dress up as Mario and Peach and go see it. That'd be perfect. There you go. God of War Ragnarok's director, who we mentioned earlier, Eric Williams, was on Kind of Funny. He did a spoiler cast that I've got saved on my phone, but I'm not going to listen to it until I actually beat it. Although I've seen some people commenting that they didn't really talk about it. Was more, it wasn't as much about the story and stuff like that. So that's kind of disappointing, but whatever. But he hinted that he's hoping that he and Sony Santa Monica could get a license to make a Castlevania game, which would be awesome because with what they've done with Kratos in these last two games, I could see a 3D Castlevania game finally being done right. So that would be awesome. Is it going to happen? No.
Are there already 3D Castlevania games?
There's some. Yeah, there was Castlevania 64, which was not good. There was a couple games on PS2. Then you had Lords of Shadow and Lords of Shadow 2 on PS3 and PS4 that some people love them. Some people say they're garbage. And I think there's been a couple others, but nobody's really nailed 3D Castlevania yet. But somebody like Santa Monica could definitely do it.
But I almost feel like if you want to...
Or From Software.
I almost feel like if that's the type of game that you want to make, but it's such a diversion from what Castlevania is... Like, why even make it a Castlevania game? Why not just make a new original game and have like Dracula have Dracula in it because he's in the public domain now.
Yeah, I was going to say it's public domain. Anybody can make a Dracula game.
Yeah. I can make I mean, I can't make a Dracula. I don't know how to make video games.
In theory, you could. Yes.
Yeah.
Dead Island 2 hilariously has been delayed after we never thought it was actually going to come out from February to April 28th. So just a couple months there. They do have a gameplay showcase coming on December 6th. It was announced that EA Sports College Football is coming back summer of 2024. They're taking their time because they're building it from scratch. I was hoping for summer 23, but I'm still glad. I'm just glad to know that they're still moving forward with it. I can't wait. I haven't been able to play a college football game since 2012, and I'm really looking forward to this.
I want them to do something. I don't want it to just be Madden with a college skin.
Yeah.
I want it to be different. Even if it was like a much more arcadey, like if they were to bring back, make it more in the realm of like NFL Blitz.
Yeah.
Well, see, I don't even know if there's a market for those games anymore.
Well, the last one I got was the last one they made was NCAA Football 13, which came out in July of 2012. And I remember like they did feel different than Madden because there was so much more of a focus on, and the game has changed. Like the college game has changed so much now in 10 years, 12 years by the time this comes out. There was such a focus on read options and everything, which some of that has now come to Madden, but I'm so excited to have a college football game again. I will definitely be buying that day one in 2 years, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Street Fighter 6 has apparently been rated in South Korea, so we may be getting a release date soon. So far, all they've said is that it's coming next year. I got a feeling I'm feeling like June, so I don't know. But if it's already been rated, that's kind of weird. I don't know. They want to put it out too close to, Resident Evil 4 Remake, which is coming in March. So I can't think of. Street Fighter 5 came out in January. I know that.
Street Fighter 6?
Yeah.
I guess Street Fighter is also Capcom.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say, I don't think Street Fighter 6 and
Resident
Evil would really like compete. Like,
yeah, they're not crossing over. I was just thinking with it being
Yeah.
Capcom, but
I mean, I know that you're going to be interested in both those games,
Yes.
but I feel like a lot of people aren't going to be choosing like one or the other.
yeah, and Street Fighter 6 is going to live for years, like Street
Mhm.
Fighter 4 and 5 did.
No one ever talks about Street Fighter 4.
I love
I
Street
feel
Fighter
like
4.
I feel like people talk about 2 and 5.
I did not like 5. I thought 4 was much better.
Really?
I still prefer 2 overall just because
I guess
nostalgia, but
People
Ultra
probably
Street
talk
Fighter
about
4 is
5 because
awesome.
it's the current one,
Yeah.
and then 2 because it's the greatest fighting game of all time.
Yes, in my mind.
Yeah,
it is.
exactly.
Yeah.
Fighting games aren't my thing, so I'm just going to take your word up for it.
You should. We've got plenty of Street Fighter videos on here to back that up. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy was announced that it hit over 8 million players in its first year, but I wrote in parentheses here, the game is on Game Pass and PS Plus, and we know when this game came out, it fell well short of what Square Enix was hoping for, even though it was critically acclaimed. But I mean, good for them getting 8 million players. I hate that it didn't do well commercially before it hit the quote unquote free services.
I think that part of the reason it did really poorly was because of Avengers, because Avengers was kind of terrible.
Yes.
I mean, I think John enjoyed it. I know I had a little bit of fun with it. At least I think there's someone in the Discord that had fun with it.
Sean really liked it.
Yeah. You said Sean?
Sean, yeah.
Okay. I also think though that Square Enix just had too high of expectations for all of their Western games. Because even if you look at the Tomb Raider trilogy, what they call the Survivor trilogy, so Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider, I think all 3 of those games are incredible. They always talked about those games as if they were like such a big disappointment, which I don't know if they just spent so long making those games that they cost too much that they needed to hit a certain sales number for them to be considered profitable,
right?
Or like what? But even if a game is reviewing well and selling what most of us would consider selling well, it never seemed like Square Enix was happy with it.
Yeah. And that's why they sold off their Western studios.
Exactly. So, but Guardians of the Galaxy, I do think it's significant that they've had 8 million players, even though it's been on PS Plus and Game Pass at this point, because 8 million players is still 8 million players.
Yeah,
and pretty much
sure.
everybody. Have you played any of that game?
I played the first hour and then I got sucked into the Demon Souls remake. I think I got it at the same time.
Pretty much everybody that I know that's played Guardians of the Galaxy has said they've really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And so if you have 8 million people playing your game and they enjoy it, even if they're playing it, even if they're playing it for free, I feel like that could bode well for you in the future, because I feel like those people are going to be more interested in whatever it is that you are going to have it coming next. Because I want to say if they make, I don't think that would be stuck with Square Enix. I want to say that would go with was that Crystal Dynamics?
I think it was Crystal. That's what I was going to ask, but I'm not 100% sure. Well, no, Crystal did Avengers, so it wasn't it was Eidos Montreal, I think.
I think you're right. Eidos Montreal, I think they also did one of the Tomb Raiders.
Yeah, they did. Yep.
I want to say Crystal did the first one. Anyway, that's not important. But I do think 8 million players is significant, because if those 8 million players enjoyed your game, I feel like it's easy to market another game towards those players.
Right. But it probably won't be Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Right. I liked Guardians of the Galaxy, but I didn't like it enough to go back and get the platinum.
Yeah. I still want to go back and play it at some point, but at this point, I don't know that I really will.
I definitely think it's worth playing. I thought it was a really cool game. I also think that even though, since we are so familiar with the Guardians of the Galaxy through the 2 movies, it's a little bit hard to get warmed up to the characters in the game. But I like that the interpretations of the characters in the game didn't just rely on. I like that the Peter Quill in the game didn't just feel like a knockoff of Chris Pratt. That
Right.
it like a lot of your animated movies and stuff, and a lot of your animated Batman movies, a lot of your portrayals of the Joker just feel like someone trying to act like Mark Hamill acting like the Joker.
Right.
Whereas I'm glad that we didn't get that they kind of did their own thing.
Yep. I agree. It's also the problem that, Avengers had as well, but
yeah.
I
feel like that's the exact problem that Avengers. That's one of many problems that
right.
Avengers had.
Yeah.
I saw that I think today the Winter Soldier is now playable in Avengers.
Like 2 years later than he was supposed to be or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet sold 10 million combined copies in 3 days, despite how horrible of a game it is and how it barely runs. Apparently, it is the fastest selling Nintendo game ever, or games ever, I should say, which is just mind boggling to me.
First off, I think the criticism of this game, but both of these games, is very overblown, because pretty much everybody that I've talked to, I haven't started it. Sarah's been playing Violet and she's been having a great time with it. And a lot of people that I've been talking to on Twitter and stuff have been saying that they think the criticism of it is like overblown. Obviously, it has a little bit of like jank to it, but that's really nothing new to Pokemon games. And I mean, let's be honest, like nobody's playing Pokemon games because of a flawless like gameplay experience.
Right.
They always have like a little bit of jank to them.
Yeah, my 8-year-old definitely wants one of them for Christmas, so I'm sure
Really?
I'll be having Pokemon in my house very soon.
Yeah. Well, in that case, you might as well just get both of them.
Nope. There's no way in hell.
Push that 10 million to around 20 million.
No way in hell. Yuji Naka, who's the creator of Balan Wonderworld or Wonderland, whatever it is, and formerly of Sonic Team, was arrested for insider trading at Square. I said training. That's supposed to be trading. Why did I write training? I must have been tired when I did this. But yeah. Also, a Streets of Rage movie is in the works from the creator of John Wick. I actually think that could work. Speaking of video game movies, apparently at one point, Rockstar turned down a GTA movie starring none other than Eminem. And I just wish that would have been a thing. I love Eminem. I can't imagine how horrible this would have been. As James alluded to earlier, Xbox games with gold were announced for December, and they are horrible once again. 2 games I've never heard of: Colt Canyon and Bladed Fury. PS Plus, the Essential Games Collection, has leaked, as it has done for like the last 9 months. It looks like it's going to be Mass Effect Legendary Edition, Biomutant, and Divine Knockout, which I don't know what that is. Easily, I mean, PlayStation wins every month. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty damn good month. I've never played Mass Effect.
That is a good month. Mass Effect Legendary Edition, definitely worth. I haven't played it. I think John is a Mass Effect fan. Is that right?
I'm not sure.
John's in the chat. Oh, John's back.
It says Final Fantasy has been a long accepted Final Fantasy. People want to, they should buy it and not complain about it not being on a Game Pass. Yeah, nothing compares to Call of Duty. That's what I was saying, John. The only thing I could think of that would compare to it is if somehow Sony got exclusivity of Fortnite right now and just said it's no longer on. We're pulling it off Xbox right now. You can only play it on PlayStation 4 or 5 and PC. That's it. That's the only thing I think could compare to it. But
so Mass Effect Legendary Edition, I've heard really good things about it. And then Biomutant, I played a little bit of Biomutant. I thought it was okay.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of people liked it better after they got rid of the constant talking or something. I can't remember what it was. The narration or
you
something.
Can turn off.
Yeah, now you can turn it off.
So instead of having every individual character voice acted, it to save on cast, they just had one person kind of narrate the whole thing, and to be like, oh, so and so went and talked to his friend Kevin, and Kevin told him that he should go visit his friend Sean up at the top of the tree, and it did get kind of annoying. But honestly, that didn't really even bother me. The gameplay just didn't really jive with me. It's been a while since I played it, and I do kind of want to go back to it. But I remember the enemies kind of feeling spongy, and that I felt like I had to attack them a whole lot to actually get anything to happen. And that was even like kind of early in the game. So I don't know if I just wasn't strong enough yet, or if that was anything there.
Yeah.
And then what's that third game, Divine Knockout? Have you heard of that?
Never heard of it.
I've never heard of it. I will say, so PlayStation Plus is always better than games with gold, but Mass Effect Legendary Edition and Biomutant are also both on Game Pass already.
Okay.
And since EA Play is included in Game Pass, you can actually play the Xbox 360 versions of all of the Mass Effect games and Mass Effect Legendary Edition all on Game Pass.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, but I definitely agree. PS Plus is better than games with gold, but then we're kind of comparing it to something that it almost ends up being kind of an unfair comparison. But
I don't know why they still do it. Just put games on Game Pass.
It kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier about indefinite, that you don't have business deals that last forever. But I think because they're I think that they just receive so much like latent income from people that have games with gold and just kind of that have games with gold and are continuing to pay for it, that I think if they were to change it, they would have to like unsubscribe all those people or not have that money coming in anymore. At least that's my understanding of it. But other than that, I have no idea why they would keep it around.
Yeah. Oh, well. I mean, when you got Game Pass, what can you really complain about? So,
yeah.
That's it, ladies and gentlemen, for episode 304. Thank y'all so much for being here. Thank you for bearing with us as we get through this weird scheduling time of ours over the last month or two. We do appreciate you hanging in there with us. Appreciate James being here. Always welcome on the channel. Good to have you back on here. Like I said, check out on YouTube, James Games and More. Putting up content, what, 2-3 times a week?
I shoot for 3, sometimes it's 2, usually Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Yeah.
Mondays I've been posting Let's Plays of Metroid Prime 2. I just got the final gun. I think we're getting close to the end of the game there. Probably a couple more weeks. And then today's Tuesday as we're recording. So tomorrow, I'll have a Let's Play go up of Returnal Biome 5. Kevin, have you been watching my Returnal videos?
No, because I don't want to get the itch to go back and try it again and just hate myself. I mean, I couldn't get through the second boss, and now I haven't played it in almost, I don't even know. Did that came out? No, that came out last year. I probably haven't played it. Was it 2021? 2021.
You're right.
I don't think
because the console came out at the end of 2021.
Yeah. But I can't go back and do it. It was so frustrating. It was so frustrating. I'm so bad at video games.
And then Fridays, usually I do some kind of topical video. I thought I had one that I mentioned earlier. I ranked the PS4 exclusives that I've played. I've done some on, I don't know, my favorite GameCube games was one of them. I talked about my history with video games, kind of growing up playing games, all that good stuff. I think coming up, I think I'm going to do probably a long one on my full thoughts on God of War Ragnarok. Full spoilers and everything. But I kind of need to get all my thoughts together there.
Yeah.
Kind of figure that out. Yeah.
John is 4 minutes behind, but Mass Effect is awesome. There you go. I'm at least going to add it to my library, so I have another game that I want to play, but I'll never get to.
Yeah.
But yep, that's it. Go ahead.
Have they announced any additions to PS Plus Extra or Premium lately?
No, they always do it. They do it like the second week of the month.
Okay. I just feel like they haven't really added anything to it since that initial. I feel like the initial launch lineup was good, but I don't know. At first, I was kind of tempted to move up to the extra tier, but I've been pretty satisfied with where I'm at the essential tier.
Yeah, I got
Which
the
one do
extra. I got extra just because I wanted to play Stray, and it was going to be cheaper to upgrade to extra than to buy Stray. So I said, whatever.
Gotcha.
I'll just do it.
I think that's actually how they got a lot of people. I wonder if they did that on purpose.
Yep, for sure.
Because now you have extra, and guess who's not going to remember to downgrade themselves? Everyone.
Right.
Yeah. And the premium tier is mostly retro games, which ends up being PS3 streaming, right?
Streaming and a couple of PS1 games and PS2 games, but it's the PS4 versions of them. Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like Sony almost had something really great with the PS Plus thing they've been doing, but there's some games. There's a lot of PS4 games that they bumped to the premium tier by calling them like classic games.
Correct. Yeah. The PS2 remakes.
Pretty much any remake, even like The Last of Us Remastered is at the premium tier when I feel like should have been on the extra tier because it's a PS4 game.
Right.
But well, what do I know?
Well,
yeah.
It is what it is. But all right. We're going to sign off.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. Glad you could make it.
Yeah, finish God of War. Let me know what you think.
I'm going to do my best. Sean will be back next week. Hopefully Tanner than I am after my cruise, but what are you going to do? But yeah, until the next time, James.
I think you're... Oh, sorry. Ahead. I was going to say, I think you're coming up to a decent... I want to say it's a plot twist in God of War, but it's really not. Something twisty happens, and when you get to that point, I want you to let me know so we can talk about it.
Okay, will do.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, that's it for this episode. Thanks, everybody. We'll be back next week. Until that time, thank you for playing.